Greater Media Broadcast News.
Welcome to another edition of Greater Media Broadcast News. I'm Susie Shear, bringing you the top headlines in Central New Jersey. Here are some of the stories we're covering this week. The Affordable Care Act, the 3 doctors, community grants awarded, Adoption Day, and a fatal accident. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, health insurance may now be more accessible to many New Jersey residents, but legions of prospective beneficiaries have found the road to coverage riddled with obstacles, from website flops to misinformation. The shaky ground surrounding the enrollment process has given birth to an entire industry of professionals whose sole purpose is to guide people through Obamacare. In New Jersey, these so-called navigators aim to assist the 900,000 Garden State residents who are now eligible for coverage. Navigators and application counselors are being made available through national nonprofits like Enroll America and local groups such as the 5 New Jersey organizations that received $2 million in federal funds to train these professionals. In recent weeks, navigators at the Food Bank of Monmouth and Ocean counties have advised more than 1,000 prospective purchasers and successfully enrolled approximately 120 people. With the far-reaching effort to smooth out the kinks in the enrollment system, advocates say now is the perfect time to get covered. And here's Mark Rosman with more news on some local development in Monmouth County.
A pair of development applications are in the news this week in western Monmouth County and may signal a turnaround in economic development. In Howell, the zoning board has granted several variances that will allow a developer to proceed with plans to build a 109-room hotel and banquet center at Route 9 and Northwoods Place near Interstate 195. This plan has been kicking around Howell for the last few years and finally got municipal approval. In Marlboro, the planning board will meet this week and hear an application from a developer who would like to take a former furniture store and convert it into a supermarket for gourmet Eastern European foods. Members of the planning board have expressed several concerns in a recent hearing, and those are expected to be addressed by the developer this week. Area residents and municipal officials hope these 2 applications may signal a turnaround and a loosening of the economic depression that has gripped the area for the last several years.
In an age where athletes and actors are considered role models by young people, one group dubbed the 3 doctors is changing the definition of celebrity. Here's Jessica D'Amico.
The 3 doctors will bring their mission of helping inner-city youths to Edison for their annual Holiday Health basketball benefit to be held at Edison Job Corps, which is co-sponsoring the event on December 14th. Ramek Hunt, Samson Davis, and George Jenkins came from broken homes along the inner-city streets of Newark and used positive peer pressure to motivate themselves and one another toward their promising futures as doctors and role models. The men were even called the premier role models of the world by Oprah Winfrey. The event, which will benefit foster children, will include the doctors going head-to-head with a team of volunteers on the basketball court. Attendees are asked to bring new, unwrapped gifts for children and families in need. For more information on the event, see this week's edition of the Edison Metuchen Sentinel. Back to you, Susie.
Thanks, Jess. And here's Mike Pavlichko of Greater Media's WCTC with an update on the Rutgers football team. After that, we have Tim Morris with more on local sports.
Is Rutgers football ready for the Big Ten? Well, on a lot of levels right now, the answer is a resounding no. Yes, Rutgers is the oldest college football program in the country, and the Big Ten has a lot of tradition, but you can't equate tradition with age. There's a big difference there. And Rutgers, if they can't win a BCS bowl bid in the diminished Big East of the last several years or the American Athletic Conference this year, it's not going to get easier once they join the Big Ten. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some teams that are not so great in the Big Ten. Purdue is 1-11 for crying out loud, so Rutgers will win a few games in the Big Ten next year, I do believe. And then non-conference, they've got some teams that are below 500 this year on the schedule, like Washington State. They also play Howard next year. So this team, if they improve, they might even make a bowl game next year playing in the Big Ten, just not a BCS game. But try to imagine what it's going to be like next October 18th when Rutgers visits Columbus, goes into the Horseshoe, takes on Ohio State, going up against a quarterback like Braxton Miller. Boy, it's going to be an entirely different story. And try to imagine going into those Big Ten stadiums. You know, over at Rutgers in Piscataway, 50,000 fans or so. How about Ohio State? Their record all-time, 106,000 fans set 2 years ago. They seat over 100. Nebraska, 87,000 at Memorial Stadium. Rutgers will go there next year. It's a different world in the Big Ten, my friends, I guarantee you. And if this season has been any indication, it's going to take Rutgers a while to get caught up to speed on the field and off the field. I'm Mike Pavlichko on 1450 WCTC and WCTCAM.com.
This is the weekend that high school football fans have been waiting for. Championship weekend. 4 teams from the greater media newspaper area will be vying for state sectional championships. It all starts Saturday at 10 a.m. at the College of New Jersey, where top-seeded Shore Regional will meet Point Pleasant Beach for the Central Jersey Group 1 crown. The once-beaten Blue Devils, a runner-up last year, are seeking their 6th sectional title. At 4 p.m., Colts Neck, 10-1, is making its first ever appearance in a sectional final. The Cougars will be taking on Brick Township, which has won 6 sectional crowns, but is seeking its first since 1994. They will be playing for the Group 4 championship. Saturday night at Kane University, Rumson Fairhaven, 10-1, meets undefeated Wequake for the Central Jersey 2 crown. Kickoff is 7:30 p.m. On Sunday night at Rutgers University, undefeated Manalapan is hoping that the third time is the charm when they play Hunterdon Central for the Group 4 championship. This is Manalapan's 3rd straight trip to the final, but they have yet to bring home the top prize. Kickoff is 7 p.m. This is Tim Morris for Greater Media Newspapers.
And here's a roundup of headlines from this week's papers. The lives of 2 teenagers are being mourned in Middlesex and Monmouth counties this week after they were involved in a single vehicle accident in East Brunswick. Police say a 17-year-old Spotswood High School senior was driving the vehicle when it went off the road and struck a utility pole on November 30th. He and his passenger, a Monmouth University freshman, were pronounced dead in a hospital shortly after the accident. Police are still investigating the cause of this incident. The school districts in Sayreville and South River will receive federal funds to provide transportation to students who were displaced by Superstorm Sandy. Sayreville was awarded approximately $26,000 and South River was granted $2,000. Most of the funding will cover past and anticipated busing costs. The Bayshore Regional Sewerage Authority will receive an additional $16.5 million in FEMA funding to help repair 2 incinerators damaged during Superstorm Sandy. According to officials, the work will help reestablish services that have remained offline since the storm and better protect its Union Beach facility. 7 aides from Preferred Home Healthcare Nursing Services recently received awards during this year's Home Health Aide Recognition Day. At an event held in Homedale, aides from Eatontown to North Brunswick were recognized for their contributions. For a list of the recipients, see your Greater Media newspaper today.
I was at work when my family was evacuated. I got my family to a safe place and headed back to work. My house was flooded. It was bad, but we were lucky. 1 year later, cleanup is still underway. Our crews have been working here every day, setting new poles, running new lines, and installing meters as homes pass inspection. We're committed to restoring and re-energizing the Jersey Shore.
The holidays are all about family, and for some, Adoption Day couldn't take place during a more perfect season. Here's Nicole Antonucci.
45 adopted children and young adults throughout Monmouth and Middlesex County now have a place to call home for the holidays. Last month, 25 families in Monmouth County finalized the adoption of children ranging from 4 to 14 years of age in recognition of National Adoption Day on November 22nd. In Middlesex County, 17 children and 3 adults were legally adopted. National Adoption Day is celebrated on the Saturday before Thanksgiving each year to raise awareness for the 100,000 children in foster care waiting for adoptive families. Nearly 270 children in New Jersey celebrated adoption finalizations in November. More than 800 adoptions are expected to be finalized by the end of the year. To read more about Adoption Day, visit gmnews.com.
And here's Keith Humiller with an update on flood insurance payouts in Monmouth County.
Towns throughout Monmouth County will begin receiving insurance payouts for flood-related Sandy damage in early 2014. Those payouts have stalled since early this year, when municipal insurance providers realized total claims exceeded a $50 million statewide policy cap. When payments resume in the coming months, some say towns could receive as little as 50 cents on the dollar. While uncovered expenses will still be eligible for FEMA reimbursement, the shortfall could lead to significant changes in the way towns are insured against future catastrophic storms. In this week's Independent newspaper, we talked to Charles Casagrande, a risk manager for the Monmouth County Joint Insurance Fund, who explains how towns will rely more on FEMA and less on insurance in the years ahead. We also speak to some local officials that are concerned about relying more on federal aid in the event of a future storm.
For more in-depth coverage and additional stories, pick up your Greater Media newspaper today. This is Susie Shia. Thanks for tuning in.